Hello, Algebra 1 Semester 2 students, and welcome back to your final review. Question 26 comes from 7.2 when we first started graphing parabolas. They tell us the function f of x equals x squared is transformed into the function g of x equals negative 3 halves x squared. We have to decide what's true. So I'm going to go ahead and graph each one of these first, and it won't be perfect. It's just going to be a little bit of a comparison here, right? My first graph is f of x equals x squared. Now, traditionally, we are used to seeing this a times x minus h squared plus k. If there's nothing in here, then that means that our h and our k must have been zeros here. And we could put at least an invisible 1 here. Okay, so we had zeros, nothing too bad. Okay, and so we're going to go through and start at 0, 0. And with this 1, I'm allowed to go up 1, over 1 in each direction to get something that looks like this. Okay? Here's my basic parabola of f of x. Then, when I go through and do g of x, we should notice that g of x also has zeros between the x and the square and the k on the outside, so it also starts at 0, 0. But then things get a little bit more complicated with that negative 3 halves x squared. In fact, I'm just going to deal with the decimal here. So g of x equals, if you turn this into a decimal, negative 1.5 x squared. And I'm going to treat that as being over 1. You could work with negative 3 halves, but it still needs to be over 1, and that can be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to do the negative 1.5 over 1. Right? Negative 1.5 means I go down 1.5 and then over 1. Okay, so something like that. We know it's negative, so the parabola is going down, and now we just have to decide what happens. And this is the graph of g of x. Does the graph of g of x open up? Well, no, it opens down, and that's because of the negative a value. Is the graph of g of x wider than the graph of f of x? Well, maybe that's a little bit harder to see on g of x, so I'm going to go ahead and pretend there isn't a negative, and I'm going to graph it on top of f of x. So I'm going to go up 1.5 and then over 1, up 1.5 over 1, and then sketch it in here. Okay. Is this wider than f of x? Well, no, it's actually steeper or more narrow. And the reason is because 1.5 is larger than 1. So that means our graph goes up faster than f of x. Right? It goes up 1.5 for the every 1 that f of x goes up. So g of x is not wider, g of x is narrower. The axis of symmetry of g of x is to the left of the axis of symmetry of f of x. Well, that's simply not true. We know that the axis of symmetry goes straight through the vertex, and it goes straight through the vertex on both of them. They have the same axis of symmetry. Does the graph of g of x open down? Why, yes, it does. Is the axis of symmetry the same? Well, certainly. And is the graph of g of x narrower than the graph of f of x? Yes, we saw that over here as well. So 3 correct answers. Make sure you're comfortable graphing these. Right? We call f of x equals x squared the parent function. We should be super comfortable graphing the parent function. It just starts at 0, 0, and you sketch everything in. Keep being successful on that final review, and I'm excited to keep helping you through your adventures. See you later.